All right, only the finest garbage, as you know. We wouldn't be caught dead serving garbage. If that makes sense. Anyways, we're moving on. First whiff is something that you shared in about 4 words, and then I expanded on. But
Yeah. Yeah.
German spy agency
Appreciate
brands
you.
far-right AfD as extremists, opens way for closer surveillance. Obviously, everyone's mind on the ever-divisive internet goes right to, like, maybe them being banned, or, like, is this, like, not is it a good decision, but, like, does this impede on their freedom or whatever? I'm sure you feel the same way. But I don't know.
So,
Oh yeah, go ahead. You shared this. Give me
oh, I
your.
didn't know if you wanted me to.
Yeah,
But
we
yeah,
could.
so they this is something that opens the door to them potentially being banned, which is
Right.
why I think that's sort of how I caught wind of it. Because honestly, I sort
Mm-hmm.
of read a headline, threw that in the document, and then meant to read more about it later. But then you just got there
Yeah, but we're
before I
here.
did. So,
Yeah, but we're here. We're here. Yeah.
um, but yeah, so the AfD was branded as extremist in Germany, which notably they got 24% of the vote in their last election. So it's a fairly big party.
It is. I've
So
seen,
this,
like, this map where it's like old Eastern Germany, which is interesting. I don't know what to make of that at all, but a lot of their votes come from old Eastern Germany. Am I saying that right? Yes. Okay.
well, that's probably the more rural side.
Anyways, the old black and white internet, which is special needs in the way that it sees things.
Wow.
Of course, we'll jump to, especially to get engagement, like banning or this or that, or words that will get people like, oh my gosh, like, what's happening here? But let's start with what actually happened, which is, and it's in the article here, an 1100 page experts report found the AfD to be a racist and anti-Muslim organization, a designation that allows the security services to recruit informants and intercept party communications, and which has revived calls for the party's ban. All right, forget about the party's ban part, but allows the security services to recruit informants and intercept party communications, knowing that they're not banned yet, right? Which I think if they did get banned, let's get off the top here. I think both of us would agree that that would probably, like, I wouldn't think that's a good thing. What would you think if they got banned? I would not think that's good.
No, I don't think. I think.
Okay. I
Yeah.
think I think
No,
generally we're
that's
in
not
agreement
a.
there. But now let's talk about what actually happens, which allows some sort of security service. Now we don't know the context of what that means. Like, how much are they gonna, like, spy on them, this, that, whatever. But is that something a government should be allowed to do? If there's an objective labeling, and I'm just assuming there's an objective labeling of the racist and anti-Muslim accusations. Everything I've seen online, that's correct. But should a government have the ability to do that? I feel like on some degree on some level they should. No? What do you think? To be able to just, like, recruit informants and, like, intercept, which, by the way, governments always do that, right? It's not even a conspiracy. But
Sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, certainly in the United States, I
I
don't
guess
think.
knowing that every government does, on what level do you feel like that should be okay for a government? I mean, I feel like that's I, I I feel like that's reasonable, but the libertarian in me is slapping my face. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. There's something a bit teeth grindy here about it because,
Right.
well, of course, even if you open the door to that, say the AfD gets power and now they're going to designate their opposition as extremists, and now they can.
Right.
I don't know. It just feels like unless you have a truly nonpartisan part of the government that is the security services, then
Yeah, and this is always what's bothered people, I think, about any, at least here in the States, any arm of the executive branch, whether it be the CIA or whatever, just do whatever they want, because you don't have to present any evidence or anything in, like, a court at all. You're just doing whatever you want based on, again, like you said, labels, which, I mean, they can be objective for sure, which I said, and I think they might be in this case. I think they are. But yeah, it's that in itself is problematic. It's like, well, we can do whatever we want based on, like, what we call you. It's like, wow, like, not really sure what goes into
yeah.
it. Yeah. So I think we kind of agree on that. It's like, I think every government probably does it, but, doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel great.
It has to make sense, I think. I mean, because you just put it in the context of World War II, obviously, and what politics in Germany was like that led up to World War II.
What do you mean? Wait,
well, if there was measures in place that could have prevented what happened happening, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think
because
something like this would have actually worked. It's so hard because there was such a storm with the depression and the world economy, and that also spurs right wing stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's so tricky. It's just so tricky. I don't even want to think on a. I hope I didn't mean to like make us think on a World War II level. I just meant in general, like governments are gonna do this. It's gonna make all of us feel a little weird unless you're some sort of weird, like, I don't even know, like, authoritarian. But anybody who's not, it's gonna be like, no, this feels weird, but they all do it. And a lot of what I wrote here as we go along here is coming from the perspective of it felt like from everything I saw, and as you said, even what you wrote, there was a ban, which I would have had a lot stronger, different opinions on, but there isn't yet. Which, there's a
right.
yet, but yeah. Let me bring this up too. There's another part of this article. Again, the internet can make you think like they're going to get banned and they're saying these people are bad. Other organizations classified as extremists in Germany already other organizations classified as extremists are neo-Nazi groups such as the NDP, Islamist groups including Islamic State, and far left ones as well, such as Marxist-Leninist Party of Germany. So this is something that parties have already been labeled. So many times it feels like it's in a vacuum where like, oh, you're just doing this to them. It's like, no, there's other things, Is that how that hits you at all or no?
I mean, I think I'm fine with the surveillance.
We're coming back to that. I mean, so am I. It just depends on what level, right? You have to see the details. Both of us would say that.
Yeah. I think banning it is a bridge too far, because it doesn't seem like these other ones are banned either.
Banning the party, I agree. Oh no, I agree. It's true, because they're only classified as extremists. You're right. I don't know what that. You're right. But yeah, I think I wrote down here. We'll get to it yet, but like they're not banned yet. So I mean, they're just not. We already said it too. They're not banned. So, I think there was a quote too. I don't think I saved that, but there was some quote from the last prime minister. Or how the fuck does it work in Germany? We don't know. Whoever the leader is, I'm a smooth brain. Whoever the leader in Germany was like, we shouldn't be so quick to ban parties. And Olaf Scholz, I feel like that's right. Let me see. It's in here. SPD's outgoing Chancellor Olaf Scholz on Friday called for careful evaluation and warned against rushing to outlaw the party, which is correct. I mean, none of this is like super pinpoint language, but yeah.
It just, I don't know. It's very. I feel like it's a tense thing considering Germany's past. So. And because they've been, 24%. They were the second largest party. That's pretty nuts.
No, I think there is.
It just
and I'm
feels
about to
like,
use this
okay,
wrong,
so
but I think this is kind of what you're saying too. I feel like, of course, there's always like a Streisand effect. Is that a thing where like you try to like
for sure
once you bring something up or something, or like you like spotlight something, then people are just like, oh, like it drums up interest.
No,
it's
more along the lines of when you try and hide something, it brings more attention to it.
Yeah, it's something else, dude. I'm a smooth brain, folks, so keep that in mind. But there's some term. There's always a term for it. But yeah. Are you really achieving what you think you're going to achieve with the decisions that you're making? You got to be careful.
Sure.
Let's be clear, though. AfD sucks. It does. But
sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm clear for me. You can be clear on whatever you want. I've heard your opinion on Arby's, so I'm not sure I respect a lot of them. But
wow. Their fries are great.
I was actually just kidding because I hate Arby's, but
Well, but I wasn't kidding. Their fries are great.
the curly fries, please.
Yeah,
You
banging.
could always get better. Anyways, all right.
Oh, what are we doing? Who's the extremist now?
I'm
That's
trying to find
ridiculous.
this
Ridiculous
other...
opinion.
It's so true. All right. Trying to find the move follows other setbacks. Where the hell is that in this?
Of course, Elon Musk
here
has
we
to
go.
chime in too, which I love that.
The move follows other setbacks the far right across Europe has suffered in recent months as it seeks to translate surging support into power. They include a ban on France's Marine Le Pen contesting the 2027 presidential election after her embezzlement conviction. And I highlighted this because, like, there's no question. And I feel like I'm too plugged in. I'm actually regretting my decision-making day in, day out because I know too much about internet culture. Imagine that. But you just know that I am a smooth brain, but my fellow smooth brains out there were upset when she was like disqualified in a way that's like, oh, that's because they love to like lob back the like accusation of like, oh, you're killing democracy, right? It almost becomes like a plaything for both sides to kind of lob at each other, which is bad, by the way, and sucks. But when you ban her from running, it's easy to see the angle they can come from with, oh, you're destroying democracy, your side is the left now, and blah blah. But that's an embezzlement conviction by a jury of her peers, right? So that's not persecution, you would say, right? Like, I know that we can read that and feel a certain way. Even I do. And listen, I'm a leftist, and like, talk to me dirty about Lenin, I might agree with you on depending on what day it is. Sometimes Wednesdays. But again, even being who I am, it's just like, oh, you don't want to ban people from running, like that's tricky, but convicted by a jury of her peers, no?
Yeah, for sure. And
it's not the same for AfD. That's why I highlighted it too, because AfD, it's like, what did they do besides have ideas? Again, ideas can be shitty, folks out there, right? They can be shitty, but they're still ideas. So,
I mean, this is kind of along the same vein as like banning COVID misinformation from
right,
Twitter during
shitty ideas.
Like, I just don't. How much does it? Well, sure. I'm saying if they right, shitty ideas, but if you ban it,
right, we're on the same
feels
page.
like-
It's
yeah, it becomes more appealing for people who, I don't know, see themselves as on the fringe.
there is a little bit to be said about what rises up in pop culture and just culture in general, where it'll rise to a certain level if you don't shine a light on it. And that level might sometimes in history be high enough to actually make change and do things. But for the most part, as long as you don't shine that light on it, it'll peak and then it'll go away. It's shining a light on it that's the mistake. Does that make sense? It's like, you shouldn't have...
Sure.
Yeah. Sometimes it's tricky. Again, shitty ideas are shitty ideas, but that's...
For sure.
And I've died on this hill in many conversations with you where it's like, but it's a human right to be able to vote and have ideas, even if they're shitty. So if that's winning the day, it's like, oh boy. And let me ask you this, because I thought about this. I didn't write it down when I was taking notes. Do we feel like shitty ideas ruled the day in America last November? Or do you feel, let me ask you specifically, do you feel like shitty ideas ruled the day in November?
Yeah, I would say so. Shitty discourse
How
too, but
does
for sure.
How does the non-shitty voice win that election? Is there a way? I don't even want you to go into detail. I'm just actually curious about your answer because I know you. Do you think there's a way to present the opposite non-shitty ideals and win that election? Because sometimes, let me give you a little more context, because sometimes I feel like there's such a strong anti-incumbent feeling that it's hard to overcome no matter what.
Sure.
Because, by the way, my answer is I don't think it's hard for me to see anybody, no matter who they were, even Bernie. Bernie, I think, maybe loses last year. Do you agree with that?
It's
hard to know, but
his messaging hits better, I think.
Of course it does.
Because he never fails to just appeal to what he believes is progressive populism, which a lot of those ideas sell, apolitically.
Yeah, but Trump
So,
does similar things, and of course we don't think it's on some
yeah.
intellectual and like actual like you're gonna solve problems level, but it's on a level that people care about, enough people care about, and so it's political power.
I mean, the tough answer is that you have to get people to believe in institutions again. That's the real answer.
Yeah, but how do you do that? But again,
I don't know. Yeah, you can't do that without power.
You're right about
right?
that, but it all comes back to winning elections, because if you don't, it doesn't matter. And so, like,
Well, correct.
how do you
right?
So how do you do those things together? I don't know. Anyways, we can skip over it. This is where it gets a little scary. It's like, well, okay, well, I don't know. We're gonna be authoritarian in a minute here. Anyways,
I mean, to me, yeah. I mean, you're picking exactly at like this. There's like this vibe, this sentiment out there that is full of skepticism, anti-intellectualism,
yes,
anti-institution. Like there is this beating heart of everything about the institutions and the people in power.
Yep.
Are either they don't give a fuck about me or they are actively out to get me. That is the sentiment, and I don't know how you. I don't know how you walk.
So first of all, I don't think either of us would say that the smart thing to do is fight that sentiment, because I think both of us would agree that you can harbor that sentiment in a positive way and make positive change, right?
For sure. And also, I mean, not for nothing, there are things that make that sentiment feel like it's true.
Of course. That's
right?
all. That feeds into why that feeds into what I said too. But yes, of course.
Right. So there it's not like there's nothing there, but it's taken to such an extent where it's like I don't know, it feels like people are almost anarchists.
In a way. This is why, what'll be really interesting? It'll be really interesting to see if the economy goes into a recession. If it does. And there's actual like material feel hurt. I would not argue that 2020 really was. I would argue you got to go back to 2008 to know what I'm talking about. We'll see if Trump can stand up and still have the same support. Because
he's not.
Even Trump, I think, if you destroy the economy, you're not going to have support. Like, it's not going to be a thing. So we'll see. All right, the next thing that I highlighted, yeah, you said it earlier a little bit about, and listen, if you buy a popular social media platform, you're going to have an opinion about everything. Banning the centrist AfD, Germany's most popular party, would be an extreme attack on democracy, said Musk on X. So let's break that down.
Twitter?
First of all, I didn't even highlight Germany's most popular party. They aren't. They literally were second most popular. It's just, why? Like, why would you? Anyways. All right, banning the centrist AfD. Okay, second of all, banning. They're not banned. They're not banned. And then third of all, centrist AfD. Literally, I don't even think people that support AfD, a majority of them would say they're centrist. I don't think they would. So just let me finish. I just get so fucking tired of the dishonesty when it's so easy to like understand that you're just being an asshole. Why not just be honest? I think there's more people than you would think. And actually most, if not all people, would at least have their respect for Elon raised. Some people have it in the basement and would go to, I still fucking hate him, but higher than the basement. Everybody's respect would raise if he was just honest. And this goes for everybody. Like, just be honest about what you feel. Just own it. When you just try to, like, bullshit, it feels to me like you know that what you're pushing is trash, and for some reason you have to warp it. Why do you feel like you have to warp it? Anyways, go ahead. What were you going to say? I hope I didn't make you lose your train of thought there.
Well, I mean, that's a constant for Trump, too, right? Like, there's always, everything is a half-truth, and it's exaggerated, if not an outright lie. Everything is exaggerated slightly, at the least.
And look, let me say really quickly, we appreciate that, like, no matter who you're a fan of, there's a little bit of exaggerating, a little bit of this and that. It's when you're so blatantly fucking out there just being like a bullshitter. Right. Anyways, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, so you did get one piece wrong, because he said banning the centrist AfD would be an extreme attack on democracy. So he's not claiming that they are currently
that's
banned.
Fair.
But
fair.
you did
That's
miss
fair.
him saying Germany's most popular party, which they're objectively they're not. I
No,
mean,
they're
again, their
not.
most recent election, they were the second most voted for. So, yeah, it's yeah. Centrist AFD
Which again,
is wild though.
if
It almost
you're,
feels
yeah,
it's comical. Like it almost feels like trolling.
it's
You know what I mean?
100%. And again,
There's no world.
as someone who respects human rights so deeply and thinks that a human right is being able to vote, to pull on the levers of power wherever you live, I'm torn between, like, of course I'm torn between how AFD is full of like shitty ideas and they're horrible and hateful, but also like if I believe, too many words there, but if I believe in the absolute human right to vote, but a majority of voters who it's their human right vote for someone like AFD, live by the sword, die by the sword, right? I guess. I don't really. Tricky. But yeah, it's the centrist AFD. Come on now. Just be honest, brother.
That's
Just
so
be
funny
honest.
to me. Because I mean, yeah, I think you could ask probably and I think you said this, but all AFD supporters would not call themselves centrist. I think they would just be
No.
honest about
They
what
would.
it is.
I
But
bet
yeah.
you, like, I'm not gonna say a majority, but a good amount of them would be like offended. Would be like, no, 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 no. Like,
Right.
if I wanted to be
Put some
centrist, I'll
respect
just.
on that name.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just people like Musk who try to like wash it through whatever filter to make it look a certain way. I'm not gonna say it's any
Yeah.
specific one or this or that, but it's definitely being washed through some filter because you're blatantly not telling the truth. So, anyways.
Mm-hmm. And also, if you think for a minute that he doesn't show up on everybody's feed, like he's messed with Twitter in the background to where his shit comes across everybody's feed on Twitter. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
He's making it so that everybody sees the shit that he's saying. So it just makes it all the worse when he's just
Yeah, and look, smooth brains
being so
that would ever
dishonest
comment on
about.
this would be like, you can't prove that. It's like, okay, well, you do the math on someone who is absolutely fucking obsessed with themselves, obsessed with their image, and owns a platform like this. Who's actually, it's been reported, will be fair, but still been like credibly reported that like he berated his engineers early on about like his own impressions and impact on his own site, and it was like, oh, I don't want to say nobody's saying he said boost me, but you do the math again. So yeah. All right.
Yeah.
By the way, one last thing to end on this, to be banned as a party, which again, they were labeled extremists, but we talked about how there's other parties that already have that label in Germany. Which Marxist-Leninist, they're not extremists. They're just trying to send you to the Holy Land. Anyways.
Wow. Not an endorsement.
You do need proof to actually ban a party, and I don't know if I wonder if we could get a list of actual banned parties, but to actually ban, to go through with it, you do need proof that a party is trying to undermine the democracy, which I do think is the only way you could ban a party. The only way you could ban a party in a democracy is to say, if you try to overthrow the democracy itself, you can't do that. That can manifest itself in a bunch of different ways, but yeah. So that makes sense.
But sir, what if a majority of society chooses to overthrow democracy? Isn't that in a way democracy?
No, because
think about it.
No.
Think about it.
I can easily answer all your questions. Just shoot them at me, baby. But for this one, no, because if a majority does overthrow the human right to have that vote and have that democracy, then that's incorrect. The only right way to be is to have a society that allows people to participate in the choosing of the direction of the country, whether that be directly or through people that represent them. That's it, bro.
But you do admit that if a majority of society chose to overthrow democracy, that in and of itself was a democratic choice.
Yes, but then that violates the totality of what I'm saying. No, we're together. No, you're right. I'm telling you, you're right. Because you wanted to see how I'd answer, and you're right. It would. It would be a democratically popular thing to do, choice-wise, but then it would violate the human right of everyone in that society.
Yeah.
Because
it's a
then
snake
you got to
eating its own tail.
Well,
It's a snake
and let's
eating its
even be
own
more
tail.
fair. It is, but I'll even be more fair. Let's see what they come up with, because I'm not going to sit on my high horse here and say like I know all the right ways to govern. But it just should be that everyone does have that way to participate. So if you overthrow it, let's see. But most of the time it's bullshit and it's authoritarian and it takes away the right to. Anyways, I'm here.
There you go.
I'm here for the common man, the worker, for
We'd like to officially
democracies.
endorse democracy on this podcast. Officially endorsed.
Yeah, but
God bless.
True. But how you implement it and what it looks like obviously matters. No, things get nuanced. That's how life is. No. You're right. You're 100% right to endorse that. It's just beyond that. You know, Lukashenko would tell you that he's the president of a democracy. He's a scumbag. All right, like you got to be careful. Anyway, sorry.
Sure.
You know who that is?
Yeah.
Who's
I mean,
Lukashenko?
he's just lying.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he's Belarus.
Oh God.
Belarusian president.
We're too plugged in.
Right?
Yeah, you're correct. You're absolutely correct. All right, let's move on.
Yeah. RFK Jr.
RFK Jr. to end God's. All right, well that's one take. RFK Jr. to end Godsend Narcan Program that helped reduce overdose deaths despite his past heroin addiction. All right. So I don't even have much to say about this. I did crop a couple out, but this really sparks in my mind. Do some people deserve not to be rescued? I don't think so. Do you have any thoughts on that at all? Because this is what this is, right?
It does feel like that's at the heart of what this is, yes.
Right, because if you know that if you reduce funding to something, which is something I had written down later on, where it's not even a drop in a bucket for the
it's $56 million
it's not even a drop
grant.
Right, it's less than a drop in a bucket for money that the government spends. A program that actually does save lives, like if you cut that, is that people saying like I think I just don't care? You know what I'm saying? It's hard for me to see anything else. I don't think anybody here is willing to say that people don't deserve to be rescued. So it's just, I guess it's just bad. It's just bad.
I mean, the title is a little misleading, I will say. So I kind of dug a little deeper because I wanted to see, you know, RFK's direct quote on ending this program. But as far as I understand, there is a budget that's proposed from the Trump admin that includes cutting this program. And obviously RFK is just, he's supporting the administration. I don't think he's even been directly questioned about this yet. That's how fresh this story is, I think. Because I couldn't find anything about him responding to.
Okay, well, we appreciate your DD.
But
look. First of all, the idea that someone wrote out it on the chopping block is still tricky.
Yeah.
And also, I think second of all, why are they even? What do you mean? So, I get so confused. It's like, on some things they just fucking cut it without even giving a shit about procedure and process, and then like some things they like put it in a budget and they're being. I guess maybe because this does actually save people's lives. So do you know what I mean? Where like Doge just came in and did whatever the fuck they want, and then sometimes they're like, oh
yeah. Well, this was the one rock that Doge didn't turn over, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I get what you mean, though, because it does feel like they've already gone through with fucking scissors and swiped at whatever they can.
Right. So then why would they give a shit
I will say,
about... Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're all forgetting that Doge can't do this, right? This is money that was allocated by Congress.
You're correct.
So you technically can't withhold all this funding. And I think that fight is still going on. So if the Trump admin wants this stuff to stick, they have to enshrine it in a budget, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
So maybe this is them trying to do their due diligence. I don't know. But
yeah, who knows?
Yeah, the beating heart of this is fuck homeless people, essentially. That is the beating heart of this.
And I saw it's funny you say that because I saw this like clip the other day. I can't remember who was talking, but there was a couple people talking, and it was like one person who was critical of like California's homeless problem, and another person who's like a documentarian who kind of like I don't know why I can't remember who this was, but they kind of have like firsthand experience and stuff, and they kept questioning the person who was like critical of California. It's like, so then like what is your solution? It's like what is your solution then? Like you're saying this is bad and we need to solve this. It's like, what is your solution? And it's like, I'm pretty sure the answer was just like, oh, like meritocracy, you got to work and they got to find jobs. And it's like, okay, but if you want to live in the world where you just expect that out of people, then you're going to have this. So that you have no solution. So then you have to learn to live with this. You have to learn to live with homeless people in the street. Same with this. It's like, are you just learning? You're just like, oh, well, we just have to learn to live with people who we could have saved, but it's tough. Oh my God. Tricky mindset.
It is. I mean, I do think, obviously this is a Band-Aid to a much deeper problem.
Of course it is.
Narcan.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? So I guess there is something to be said that, if you keep having to revive somebody with Narcan, I don't know, obviously something more needs to be done there, right? Like this individual keeps putting themselves.
Yes, but nobody would actually have the answer say, let them die on like the 17th time.
Right.
Don't give them Narcan on the 21st. Nobody would say that. Who says that's ridiculous? Like that's bad.
Some people would say that.
I know, and they're awful because at the end of the day, you should value a human life. You just should. Fuck off. Like that makes no sense to me. And also
makes you wonder.
But
right?
also, again, this is another one of those things in life where two things can be true, and this is how we argue about it from two different sides. Where, yes, you also, you're right when you say like if someone's doing the same shit over and over again, like we got to figure something else out. Like, of course, that's true as well.
Yeah, it seems to me at that point the state should intervene.
Sure.
But you're right. The beating heart of this is let them die on the sidewalk. And problem solved, which, just doesn't. That's kind of gross. You know what I mean? I mean, it makes you wonder how many Americans, right? If they were walking down the sidewalk and they saw someone ODing and there was Noxolone nearby, and they could just administer it. How many people would actually do it?
Every single person.
What percentage of the population?
100%.
You think? You think every person would do it?
Yes. You know what? Yes, I'm gonna stick with my answer. You maybe struggle there. No, I would, because when you're faced with actual reality, even the shittiest people, even the people online that would say the most ridiculous things, when you're faced with decisions in reality, like in real life, your decision making is just different. The amount of people who say the most heinous shit online and then show up to like your Thanksgiving, your family Thanksgiving, and they're the nicest cousin, that can happen all the time. So. Yeah, I think just in real life, your decision making would be different. And if you knew, let's be very specific here. If you knew someone was overdosing, this is what you said. You knew someone was overdosing, and you knew you could save them. I think 100% of people would. I think 100% of people would.
I don't think it's 100.
I think it's 100. I think I'm gonna choose to be more like Jesus. Go ahead, Satan.
Wow, you have a lot of faith in humanity. Then that's a good thing, if anything. I will say. Yeah. Just as a sidebar, my daily commute, I cut through a pretty rough part of town, and there's this one homeless dude I see very regularly. He's kind of regular to the area. Panhandles a lot, whatever. There's one time I had to cut loose from work because I think I was going to a dentist appointment, taking my route out, and I drive by this guy, and I see him, and he has his pants, he's basically almost fully naked, right? His pants are down his ankles. And he's like, his back is propped up against a utility pole because he's taking a shit. I don't know why I just whispered that. Like, but anyway, so he's taking a shit. And as I'm driving by, I see.
What a show.
Full butthole, balls, everything. And I gotta say, I think I would still. I was so upset about that. I'm just not ready for that. But I say that to say, even if I was walking down the street and I saw that guy ODing, I probably would still revive him, even though I'm very upset about that day still.
Yeah, I mean, you say probably, you would. you would. It's to see that in real time. To see that in real time, it's tricky. It's tricky.
But I only share that story to share
Someone
like what
OD'd.
I think a lot of people feel the frustration is about, because there
No
are
doubt,
a
dude.
lot
You
of.
got a front row seat to someone defecating. That's another level.
This is a
That's
tough
another
moment. It was a tough moment,
I'm
and I do think
we're gonna show our privilege here because people in like bigger cities are gonna be like, I see people pooping in the alley every day. It's like,
Sure.
well, I don't. So, but yeah.
Well, I don't, and this guy was. So it's like this road. It's this
Yeah.
road where there's a road on. There's one direction on each side, and there's this big median strip with like grass and trees.
Sure, classic.
So he's like in between two roads. You know what I mean? And he's not trying to hide at all. And God bless,
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw more on him than I've seen
when
on
you
my
know
own body in my entire life.
That's when they know
It's tough.
they've sent the care. No shame. They've sent the shame
For
out of their
sure,
body.
For
There's
sure.
none of it in there. It is what it is. Like
I say
and look,
that,
we know
though,
I'm a sad sack of a man, but I used to know someone who worked at a psych center, right? So heard some stories. So hey, people are out there, and sometimes there's places for them to go, like a psych center. But yeah, I don't think we do as good a job as other.
No, we don't. We don't.
Other societies
and I
on
think
this planet, but
yeah, we could do a much better job in this country. And it makes you wonder too, if that's what this sentiment is, or if they truly are just trying to cut money by cutting this grant, right? Are they just trying to save money? Are they just snipping where they can? Or is there somebody who, in the administration, who this was their pet project? They hate that Narcan's available and that we're reviving people ODing, blah, blah, blah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels more like the latter because, dude, sometimes you like, for sure that most people, even the people that have an opposite, like, ideology of you, are not always coming in bad faith. Maybe sometimes, maybe never. Maybe they're always good faith. They're good people, But, like, for the, you know what I'm saying? Like, most people. And then sometimes people are Stephen Miller. And they're fucking disgusting dirtbags. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know.
Yeah, he's a ghoul. He is an actual ghoul. Just watching him speak, you get like my skin
and you could see
crawls
someone,
a little
and
just
you could see
watching him
someone
speak.
like him exist for like just hating fucking like, homeless druggies, and they shouldn't have their lives saved. Which like, look, and the internet has clogged our brains with such bullshit. For sure, all of society. But like, take a step back. Think about an actual human being there. Think about. I hate doing this, but a lot of people think about it in the ways that it affects them. Think about it actually being your relative. Maybe you had good times with them in the past. You know someone's locked in there. You just want people to die? That makes no sense. That's bad. That's fucking bad. Like, these ghouls like Stephen Miller and other people like this exist for this are the ones making the decisions probably, and so they cut it. And let's say there's not even let's say there's not even ghouls. They just did this on accident. They're just hacking away and nobody looked into it. That's still awful. Like, think about what that means for like everything else that's just getting hacked with no thought put behind it at all. So that's not good either. But anyways, you got either ghoul or people who don't give a fuck and don't even like research. Both are not great. Not great. I think ghouls probably worse, but go ahead. Yeah.
The only other thing I could think of, because again, it's a fresh story. RFK hasn't been questioned yet. I haven't really seen like him say anything about this particular.
Yeah, this is the Latin Times pretty recently, I guess.
Yeah, I had to dig around a bit. I finally found a Vox Media article, which kind of had a little bit more information, but essentially, yeah, it's just part of.
Whoa, are we a misinformation of? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
My only other thought was maybe Narcan can be abused.
What?
And in my quick reading of it, well, because it makes you wonder, like, if it reverses an overdose, what does it do to a sober person, right?
Does it give you a high?
Not at all. It is specifically geared for just ODing, specifically on opiates. Opiates?
So it's just like anti venom for any specific snake, kind of in a way.
Essentially,
it's
yeah.
just a fucking smooth brain way of looking at it, but we know I'm one.
It only interacts with the thing that it's trying to. Right.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I don't know. I was just impressed by that, but that's just an aside.
The ghoul who implemented this can KYS. That's the idea.
There you go.
That's the idea. All right. Last thing I had here.
There's furries in Texas.
There are not. That's the point.
Well,
no, we have this headline that I saw, this garbage that I shared, and it's just like, oh, furry. There's a bill to ban furries in schools, but the dude that introduced it can't come up with an example of it, and it's just more culture wars, giving people brain rot, right? We're just shadow boxing issues that don't exist. And my first question is always why, but we know why. Like, they're just trying to, get clicks, attention, or just show off to their constituents, whatever this guy's, point was. But yeah, it's just dumb. It's so frustrating. It's like the we said earlier in this recording, it's like the anti-establishment sentiment, the institution sentiment. It just reminds me of this, where we're getting people who also are in power who have that same mindset of, like, I don't have to do any work. I don't have to look into anything. I just need to make sure the seals are clapping and I get reelected. And that's bad, because, like, then you get people like that who just want to make the seals clap, but then they're actually pulling levers of power on decisions that will affect, like, regular people always.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we have these seal clapping morons, and it's frustrating, man. You're not even, I think I wrote here somewhere, you're not even going to the school and checking it out at all. There's let me see. The first thing I shared was the guy who introduced a bill to ban furries. Mm-hmm. He said he had heard. He said he had heard at a party that he was at, and then his daughter's friend was at, but then she was at a party the night before, and she heard reports of furry-related incident at some school district. All right? It's just like so stupid, man. Mm-hmm. And then more from the article. Representative Gerdes, I guess he's the one that submitted this, contacted Superintendent Cheryl Burns to ask if there were any litter boxes for students on district campuses. This man picked up the phone.
Yeah.
And called a superintendent. And no shame at all. No, maybe I shouldn't make this call. Maybe this makes no sense. Is there a better way to do this? Picked the phone up and called the superintendent and asked this. How embarrassing. How absolutely embarrassing. Burns informed Rep. Gerdes that there were not any litter boxes on campus, but as a courtesy to Rep. Gerdes, Mrs. Burns made the extra effort, which is so weird how they wrote this, made the extra effort to walk the campus to confirm that there were no litter boxes for the students. Go ahead.
Yeah, which is hilarious to me, that as a superintendent, you would be asked to just look into bathrooms for litter boxes. Wow. Much akin to looking for the pot of gold at the end of a rainbow, it feels like.
Right.
Because what are we doing? And the fact that he's had this discussion with the superintendent, and they're like, no, dude, there are no litter boxes. They still went to pass this bill? Dude, and it's crazy to me because I remember first hearing this story a couple years ago, and I can't believe it's still going. I can't believe legislation's getting passed.
That was another reason why I shared it. It's like, we're still doing this. Is so stupid, man. This is so stupid. So stupid. Just go, dude. Even if this was true, go for yourself. What are you doing? You clearly don't care because you're not even trying. And then it killed me, too, because this article at the bottom had, what is considered non-human behavior? And the first thing they had for what is considered non-human behavior, first thing, using a litter box to relieve oneself. It's like, what? That's the first thing? Come on, man.
Yeah, these are great. You can't wear leashes, collars, which, I think that's fine. I don't know that people were doing that, but sure.
That's in the bill. That's in
My
the bill.
favorite was
Yeah.
making animal noises such as barking, meowing, or hissing, and then licking oneself for grooming. There was an actual committee that sat around and
Dude,
defined the parameters of non-human behavior. That's incredible.
I don't. Whatever
It's
group of
this
human
is-
beings is sitting in a room talking about this, coming up with this list, and not reflecting on how stupid that is. It's just, I want to study where you came from, what you consider shame is, like when you think about the decisions you make, like how that goes into it. You read stuff like this, and you're thinking about how you could sit in that room and think to yourself, like, this is weird, At the very least. It's like, what do you think, Cyril? What do you think should be on the list of prohibited behaviors? It's like, did we find any person ever doing this? Anyways, yeah, it's...
The bill states that students must present themselves as human and are also prohibited from creating organizations or clubs related to non-human behavior and promoting the belief that non-human behaviors are socially acceptable. Wow. Do you think there was any instances of anything that could be considered this happening? Like, I'm sure that there...
what are we even talking about? Being dressed as a furry at
just to be
school?
clear,
I'm sure. Of course.
being a
there have
furry is a real thing. That is a genuine thing that people do. You know what I mean?
Yes, but I believe it's when the time and place is right to participate in that. I don't think these
Right.
people wear their furry costumes 24/7. I don't believe
Right,
that is how
right.
that goes.
Yeah.
That would be a pretty high level of privilege to be able to just wear a costume 24/7 and still be able to support yourself financially. I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to, furries out there, but that would absolutely be privilege, I would think. So, yeah, this shit is crazy,
Yes,
man.
it's
We're waiting in especially in the era of Trump 2.0. We're gonna wade into deep culture war stuff constantly, man.
Right,
not
because they don't have anything of substance to do, essentially. And it's crazy to me because this is the same state that the Uvalde massacre happened in, not fucking, I don't
Doesn't
even know,
matter.
3 years ago now, where elementary school children were gunned down in a pile in a fucking classroom. But we're making moves on supposed litter boxes in bathrooms that have zero evidence to exist. That's just incredible governing to me.
I feel like, and this is me wildly speculating, but I feel like in another time, if politics got this wild on either side, it would get reined in by the voters voting in and more sensible voices and voting out crazy people. But I feel like Texas state government is an example of modern times where people feel such a partisan pull for whatever reason that regardless of the idiocy, you're just like, but I'm a Republican. I couldn't bear to bring myself to ever vote not Republican. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where in other times it would just be like, all right, like, especially with the school vouchers. It's like rural counties on school vouchers are going to get absolutely hammered.
Yes.
Hammered.
Correct. Yeah.
And I don't understand how people don't understand that if you implement vouchers, all those kids where they had parents paying property tax into local school districts but had their kids going to private school, that's going away. You're going to have way less money for the public school system.
Yeah.
It's all going to be directed at the private school system.
Mm-hmm.
Because as of right now, and they should, and maybe I'm one of those people someday, and no, actually, yeah, right, my kids aren't going to private school over my dead body. But, like, if you send your kids to private school, still pay your property taxes. Get over it. You feel me? Eat a bag of dicks.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the...
Chort all my balls. But yeah, my change.
mean, you can make a better argument than that, but short on my balls is that's certainly something you can follow up with.
I guess my real point was
This
rural people tend to vote Republican. Republicans seem to be pushing vouchers. It's going to
yeah.
take education to.
Well,
not
dude, it's
great
more than
levels.
that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Well, it is,
healthcare.
yeah,
A
I
lot
know,
of
I
rural
know.
healthcare is heavily subsidized. That goes
Sure.
away. Rural education goes away, or just gets worse. Rural hospitals closing. Like
I wish these cowards would cut $800 billion from Medicaid. They're not gonna. They're backing away because they're cowards. But I wish these cowards would.
Well, they understand that it's a non-starter, and they should understand.
Cut $800
that.
billion in Medicaid and also keep these tariffs on. 50-state victory in 2028 for a Democrat, no matter who it is.
State.
No matter who it is. It could
What if
literally
it's
be. It could be
Congress?
Hillary Clinton. She would win 50 states. I'm not kidding.
All right.
I'm not kidding.
Wow.
I'm not kidding.
It's funny too because it feels like a lot of these conversations we have, a lot of it just comes down to people's understanding of the world and just bad ideas spreading, and
That's true.
it's very frustrating to see that.
But what makes a bad idea?
Whether it's misinformation or a half truth or
Okay, that's fair.
something
That's a
that's
good answer.
driving a narrative.
I was also going to say bad
Other
ideas
than-
can be destabilizing to society. That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Dude. That's a bad idea.
Right.
Oh, dude, how many videos of Trump supporters have I seen in the last few weeks where like someone interviews them at a rally or whatever, and they're like, "What if we?" And they're like, "Just humor me. What if we do go into a recession? What if it does get tricky?" People time and time again are like, I will shoulder the burden if it's for an investment in the future of the country. I will shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Even one lady, there was this interview where this one lady was like, I'm pretty sure I'm about to lose my job. I work for a school district. I work for a part of it that relies a lot on like federal grants or something. And she's like, I'm pretty sure I'm about to lose my job. And the guy was like, if you lose your job, would you still support this administration? She was like, oh yeah, it's an investment for my kids and their kids for the future. I'm like, damn. Like,
what's crazy too is that's actually pretty noble if they were actually supporting people that were doing good things.
Correct.
Right? Like,
it depends on the context. Of course it's
Yeah.
noble. Like, it's noble in the sense that, like, in World War II, men had to step up and everyone back home had to ration and you couldn't get whatever you wanted. And, that's fine.
You'd grow your own food.
But when it's, and this is what some outlets say and some don't, but some do. It's like, this is a self-inflicted. This is man-made.
Well, the thing that sucks about that is there is no greater cause. They're just cutting support systems. Right. There's no like greater cause here, unless the idea is. I mean, there is something to be said about the deficit and our debt, blah blah blah, for sure.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, there are more serious ways to reduce that deficit that don't start with cutting education.
Cut defense, tax the rich.
There you go.
That's where you start.
That's absolutely where you start. Right. And raise the corporate tax.
I think that's probably true.
I mean, for sure, trim the budget.
Well, corporations are rich, so like, yeah. So yes.
Yeah, raise the corporate tax. I'm fine with that.
No doubt. I think sometimes you get truth to like, if you raise taxes enough, people will leave a state for another state. But people aren't going to leave the United. Well, for now, I don't think people aren't going to leave the United States to go. It's like anyone that has already done it. As far as like cheap wages and cheap labor, so yeah. All right.
So who do you think is going to run as the Democratic presidential candidate in 2028?
Oh, I don't fucking know.
Doesn't matter. You don't care about it.
No, I do care. Of course, I care. I just time and time again, I'm disappointed in the amount of change an electorate is willing to make, even in times where there should be heavy thoughts of change. So, for example, one of those things recently is I see polling for New York State Democratic governor, and Hochul just does well, and she's gonna win, and she's gonna be governor again. And like, is Hochul better than a Republican? Sure, but she sucks. So I no. So, I don't know. I get disappointed by. Like, would I be more excited if an AOC was like the sure, but I think it's just gonna be another. Even Tim Walz, I'd be chill with, but I feel like it's just gonna be like Gavin Newsom, who I don't like Gavin Newsom. I have my own reasons, but I like Gavin Newsom. Like, just gonna be a corporate Democrat. We've talked about this for years, my brother. We'll continue to talk about it. Stupid corporate Democrats. It's gonna be another one in 2028. They're gonna campaign with Liz Cheney again, thinking like they're doing anything.
No,
and we're all gonna just roll our eyes and be like, "Jesus Christ!" Like, what
no.
All right, we'll see.
If they have to understand that they have to change or die. You lost to Trump twice. That's insane. You change or you die.
So so here's my worry, and I've told you this before. Trump could, with these tariffs, fuck the economy up so bad that Democrats don't have to change, and they're gonna win, and they can get complacent about that. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it sucks.
I don't think the consciousness of liberals at this point is the same as it was in 20 or even 16, because they understand that Trump winning again was.
I agree with you
changing.
To an extent.
The consciousness of the sort of sphere of ideas on the left is changing, and it's. I don't know where it's going to go, but there's definitely an anti-corporate energy at the moment, and we have to foster that as much as possible.
Yeah.
You just have to move away from neoliberalism.
Yeah. And there's plenty of non-neoliberal Democrats in the country. When I say that, I mean from the bottom up, even at the most local of local. It's just a lot of them don't have the super like a lot of them aren't at the federal level.
Bernie's the most notorious one, and he's not a Democrat.
AOC.
He's not a Democrat.
There's other. Yeah. Oh yeah, true, right. There's other.
AOC's up there. She's
in the House, I think.
To me, if you are a current representative and you've never accepted PAC money, I have an infinite amount of respect for you.
Dude, we're gonna start. Well, forget about it. I'm going to run on a platform of, and I'm not even going to say anything else. I'm going to just repeat this over and over again. I'm going to say, I'm cutting defense in half, and I'm taking every dollar, and we're putting it towards Medicare for all. That's it. I'm going to say that over and over again. I'm going to see if I can run a race and win. Say nothing else. Anyways. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Call it universal health care. That might land better than Medicare for all. You know, branding matters.
I don't expect to win, so I don't care. All right, I'm going to Donald Trump's True Social real quick.
Here we go. Let's go. I saw you pulling it up. I've got one ready to go.
All right, which one? Tell me which one it is. Let's do it.
So it's one more down.
This one?
Right there. Click on that one.
Okay.
The movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. Blah, blah, blah. We're being devastated. So, in addition to everything else, therefore, I am authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States trade representatives to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country. What does that mean?
What? Does this...
Actually, I should have read the whole thing.
Is
Hollywood and many other...
Is this man... Is he sick? Does he have dementia? Like, do we actually...
Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. This is a concerted effort by other nations, and therefore
he's supporting Hollywood in
threat.
This truth. That's the most surprising part.
You know what? That's actually not a bad point.
What the fuck is this, dude? This is crazy.
What does a tariff on a movie coming into our country mean, though? What does that mean?
I don't, dude. That's
what is it? How do you?
You know what that means? That's brain rot. I have nobody has no idea what that means. Man was sitting on the toilet and was like, who knows? Watching a TikTok from his favorite influencer who was like, oh, like, The latest Daily Wire film didn't do great because of foreign. I don't know, dude. Terror on the Prairie, is that one of theirs? I don't know.
They have a few actually.
Lady Ballers didn't do great, and we're not happy about it.
Any and all movies coming into our country.
Dude, this is
I don't know. I don't know what that means.
pretty crazy.
And then he's
It's just stupid.
The
Man.
next couple are, yeah. He posted the same exact tweet twice about rebuilding and opening Alcatraz. Like back to back, it's the exact same tweet. I'm not sure what that's about.
Oh boy. Good old DD. Dementia Don at it again.